Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we aren't just analyzing sources. We are stepping onto a movie set.
That's a great way to put it.
Forget the dry data. We are tracking the dramatic, high-stakes journey of a complete life overhaul. This deep dive is about that one moment. The one event that shifts an entire life trajectory, turning cultural expectation into this burning, undeniable passion.
That's absolutely right. And what we have to work with here is a profoundly powerful first-person narrative, which was generously shared by the writer, Swapnil.
Right.
And this isn't just an anecdote. It chronicles a radical career and life change. And it gives us this fascinating emotional blueprint for anyone who has ever felt the need to deviate, to completely go off the path everyone has laid out for them.
Everyone, their family, society.
Exactly. We're going to be analyzing the mechanics of that pivot.
And the stakes,
Yeah.
They couldn't be higher. This is a life defined by inertia. You have this small Indian town where one sport, just one, reigns supreme, cricket. And that's pitted against this intense internal pull towards something entirely foreign. We're going to watch the transformation of a talented cricket fanatic into a professional football analyst right in the heart of Paris.
Working for a global powerhouse like Paris Saint-Germain, no less.
You can't make this stuff up.
You really can't. So our mission today, for you, the listener, is not just to hear this incredible story, but to really analyze how that external pressure, there's deeply ingrained cultural norms, the weight of familial pride, how that clashes head-on with an internal calling. We're going to unpack the practical, the emotional, and the intellectual steps Swapnil took to navigate this colossal shift.
It feels like for anyone listening who feels like they're living one life while dreaming of another, this narrative, it offers some profound insight into the courage, but also the competence required to bridge that gap.
Competence is the key word there. It's not just about having a dream.
We'll be looking at a story where one single midnight match changed everything, and it gave the heart a definitive answer. And the initial takeaway we'll tease right now is this. How do you silence all the doubters, the family, the friends, the mentors, and actually find your own heaven on earth when the entire world is pushing you toward a different kind of success?
And to truly appreciate the magnitude of that, of the courage required for this pivot, we have to first establish the cultural gravity well that Swapnil was operating within.
The cricket cage, as we're calling it.
The cricket cage, exactly.
Yeah.
In the specific small Indian town setting he describes, cricket was, and I'm quoting here, not just a sport, it was a way of life. The language there is so key. It's not a hobby, it's infrastructure, it's everything.
Think about that environment. The narrative paints this incredibly vivid daily picture. Every single evening, the streets would just fill up with kids wielding bats and tennis balls.
A sea of white clothes and dusty fields.
Yes, all focused on this singular, shared national dream. They were all chasing the ambition of becoming the next Sachin Tendulkar.
And we really can't gloss over that name, Sachin Tendulkar. For listeners who might be outside of the Indian subcontinent, this isn't just a sports star. This is a cultural deity.
Oh, absolutely. He's like Michael Jordan, Babe Ruth, and a saint all rolled into one.
That's a perfect comparison. He is the ultimate benchmark of success, of respect, of national pride. So when you're chasing that, you are chasing the highest form of external validation your culture can possibly offer.
And that shared pursuit, it creates this profound, almost unavoidable gravitational pull, doesn't it? It's the default setting for success.
It is. It makes the secret shift to football not just an athletic change, but a seismic cultural and familial declaration of independence.
You're not just changing hobbies, you're changing your allegiance to the established route of self-worth.
You're changing your religion, in a way.
Right. So let's step inside that early life, that intense environment that we're calling the cricket cage. We start with the sheer, beautiful weight of expectation resting on Swapnil's shoulders. The external vision for him was primarily driven by his father. And the source gives us this incredibly warm, intimate detail about his father's pride.
Yes, the father wasn't just a passive observer. He was actively celebrating a cover drive.
And for our non-cricket initiated listeners, can you just break that down? What is a cover drive?
Well, the cover drive is arguably the most elegant, technically perfect shot in the entire game. It's not just about hitting the ball for a boundary. It's a display of class, of timing, of mastery.
So it's art, not just sport.
It is absolute art. So when a father is celebrating a flawless cover drive, he is already envisioning a cricket star. This isn't just a proud dad watching a hobby.
No, this is a familial legacy being actively built, publicly affirmed, and lovingly invested in. It's a career path already mapped out in his mind.
A very clear path.
And this is where the source narrative becomes so fascinatingly complex. Because while this legacy is being celebrated out in the open, Swapnil describes this profound internal conflict. The public persona is thriving.
He's good at it.
He's great at it. But the private self is restless. Despite all the praise, the narrator was secretly practicing juggling a worn-out football and trying to master stepovers he learned from these grainy YouTube videos.
And the location of this secret practice tells us everything we need to know. The key phrase from the source is, behind our house, away from everyone's eyes.
Chills.
Right. This duality, the public self living up to expectation versus the private self nurturing this dangerous, non-traditional passion, that's where all the tension generates its heat.
The physical proximity of it, the football practice happening just behind the house where the cricket life is celebrated, it highlights just how close Swapnil was to exploding the entire reality built around him.
And can you imagine the emotional energy that requires to maintain that facade?
I can't. You're meeting the standard that makes your family so proud, but your true burning interest requires you to sneak away, use old, insufficient equipment, and self-teach from videos, all while fearing discovery.
So why the secrecy? What do you think that's about?
I think it speaks to the terror of disappointing those who believed in the established path. It's not about getting in trouble.
No, it's not fear of punishment. It's fear of disappointment,
Yeah.
of derailing that massive, beautiful cultural momentum behind the cricket dream. This secret practice is the first real step of courage. It's the internal commitment made long before any external action.
It proves that the passion was persistent enough to overcome the shame of being different.
And that brings us to a crucial, guiding philosophical truth, which is provided by his mother.
The quiet prophecy.
The quiet prophecy. She tells him, and every listener should anchor on to this, sometimes the heart knows what it wants before the mind understands why.
That line is everything.
It's everything. It's the quiet acknowledgement of an unknown future path. It's a validation of an unreasoned desire.
And let's go on that for a second, because this is where the psychological blueprint really starts to form. We see this profound contrast in the source material. On one hand, you have the father's active expectation, a loud, specific, actionable path.
Hit that cover drive, be a cricket star. It's rooted in empirical performance. You can see it, you can measure it.
Exactly. But on the other hand, the mother offers this philosophical guidance. It's passive, it's supportive, and it recognizes that passion often precedes logic and measurable outcomes.
She validates acting on instinct, even when that instinct seems completely illogical or professionally reckless. The mother is essentially granting permission for the why to emerge later.
She's saying, I see this unreasoned passion in you, and that is valid.
And that dynamic, that's what sets the perfect stage for the big moment, where the why finally becomes absolutely clear, transforming the secret passion into a defined purpose.
The night that changed everything.
The transition from secret passion to defined purpose hinges on a single defining event. And as you said, this event is pure cinematic drama. The specifics are so critical here because they ground this abstract emotional shift in objective reality.
May 22, 2010, a humid summer night.
And the initial source of the revelation wasn't some viral moment or targeted marketing. It's an ad in the morning paper for the Champions League final.
Bayern Munich versus Inter Milan.
Imagine that. In a pre-global social media, cricket-obsessed environment, the main way you learn about this massive European football match is a tiny little ad in a newspaper.
It feels almost fated. And the time difference is revolutionary. 12:14 a.m. Indian Standard Time.
In that kind of traditional small-town household, staying up past midnight for a sporting event that isn't cricket, I mean, that is almost a revolutionary act in itself.
And he pleads with his mother, who, remembering her own prophecy, manages to convince the father.
And so, as the clock strikes midnight, the external world, the world of cricket and expectation, it just fades away. The inner world takes center stage.
And the sensory details that Swapnil provides are essential to understanding the revelation. He says he was glued to the TV, seeing the emerald pitch glow under the Madrid floodlights. It wasn't just a match, it was the atmosphere.
The energy, the chants of Ale, Ale, sending, and I quote, shivers down my spine.
This is the moment the passion finds its proper context. Swapnil describes every pass, every tactical move, every single interaction as mesmerizing a revelation.
It wasn't just intellectual curiosity. It was an emotional, visceral experience that activated something deep inside him. The sheer sensory input, the light, the color, the roar of the crowd, the global scale of it all. It provided the definitive proof that the path he had been secretly carving was the right one.
The mind finally understood the heart's desire.
Exactly. This revelation, it wasn't just about goals or winning. It was the realization of a different kind of intensity, a different kind of complexity that cricket, for all its beauty, simply wasn't providing him internally anymore.
Those sensory details, they elevate this from just a casual viewing to a spiritual awakening.
And then the match concludes. It's 2:115 a.m. And this brings us to the silent decision.
The image is so powerful. Swapnil turns to share this seismic excitement, this life-changing moment, only to find his mother peacefully asleep on the couch.
That moment, illuminated only by the TV's glow, is perfect, isn't it?
It's everything. The mother is asleep, symbolizing that the external world, the judgment, the expectation, even her gentle support, it had all retreated.
The choice wasn't made amidst cheers or debate. It was made internally, completely alone. And in that quiet, blue-lit moment, the narrator realized that his life had changed forever.
The silence is the exclamation point on the decision. The self-validation is complete. He didn't need to consult anyone. The passion was so overwhelming and the moment of clarity so profound that the decision was just made.
And that quiet, blue-lit realization is the core aha moment for our listener. Clarity often comes not in a flash of noise, but in a moment of profound internal stillness, validated only by the depth of your own feeling.
The heart had finally convinced the mind. The journey from that humid small-town night to the floodlights of Paris begins right there, in that moment.
It does.
So we've had the silent decision, the internal commitment confirmed by the mother's prophecy in that midnight match. Now comes the hard part.
The declaration.
Yes, Swapnil has to externalize that choice. And as anyone who has pursued a non-traditional dream knows, the declaration is followed by the immediate, sharp, unavoidable criticism. The sources make it clear. The questions came fast and furious, and they were laced with doubt and disappointment.
This is the gauntlet. And it's so critical to analyze the types of friction he faced. When you deviate from the norm, the inertia of the past, it tries to pull you back with these specific, targeted pressure points.
And the first one is cultural friction, right? Personified by the cricket coach, this figure of authority and tradition.
Yes. And he asks, with what the source describes as palpable disappointment, football in India.
That question is so loaded. It's not just disbelief. It's a dismissal of the dream based on the current cultural infrastructure and the perceived lack of opportunity. He's suggesting you can't succeed here because the framework for that success simply does not exist.
Then there's Uncle Raj, who brings up the financial and academic consequences. He's the practical one.
Probing about the cricket scholarship.
Exactly. This is the practical blow. You're throwing away a tangible, guaranteed future, a path to economic stability and respect. For what? An unknown possibility, a global dream without a local guarantee.
And then finally, the personal shock from his closest ally in his previous life, Amit, his best friend and opening batting partner.
Who exclaims, "Has you lost your mind?"
And that's the emotional question. That's the one that hits the hardest because it challenges your sanity, your judgment. It suggests the deviation is not merely a different choice, but a catastrophic personal mistake.
But what's crucial here, and what the source states explicitly, is that the doubts, rather than crushing Swapnil, also strengthen my resolve.
Which is such a fascinating dynamic. It shows the necessary psychological friction required when you deviate from the norm. How does that work? How does friction generate heat?
Well, I think the necessity of defending the choice over and over again, it forces a deeper articulation and internalization of why you made the choice. You can no longer rely on that vague feeling you got from the midnight match.
You have to build an argument.
You have to construct logical, professional arguments to counter the criticism. This external pressure shifts the internal decision into a public manifesto, and that hardens the resolve.
That makes so much sense. If the decision had been met with universal praise, it might have felt less earned, less defined.
Absolutely. The criticism was multifaceted, personal, financial, cultural, and having to successfully argue against every single layer solidifies the commitment and proves the dedication is real, not just a passing fancy.
But even in that fire, there was one voice of support, one critical element in any successful transition.
The ally.
The childhood friend, Rahul. His powerful and simple encouragement became a mantra for Swapnil. Different is good. different changes things.
And the significance of this support system, of that one voice, it cannot be overstated. When the entire world is telling you that you are making a massive mistake, you need one person to validate the inherent value of originality.
And Rahul wasn't saying football was universally superior to cricket, was he?
Not at all. He was validating the act of choosing an unconventional path.
That reframing is key. That one line essentially reframed Swapnil's choice from a professional and cultural liability into a unique asset. It validated the idea that dreams don't need to follow the crowd to be valid. It gave him an essential tool to fend off his own self-doubt.
And armed with this mantra and this hard-earned resolve, Swapnil takes the next major tangible step. He enrolls in a sports management program.
This wasn't just signing up for classes. This was, as the source calls it, a declaration. It cemented the pivot into a professional track.
But that declaration immediately led to a humbling academic reality check. Swapnil realized quickly, and I'm quoting again, how little I knew compared to my peers.
And this is the brutal, often overlooked gap between passion and competence. Passion gets you in the door, but competence that requires cold, hard intellectual labor and skill acquisition.
And the narrative details these specific professional setbacks that must have been incredibly discouraging. His first presentation on football tactics, it ended in a series of nervous stutters, a public failure right out of the gate.
This is the moment the external world tests that resolve you've built.
It really is. And here's the crushing irony we need to focus on. The universe itself seemed to be conspiring against him. An assignment on cricket marketing, the very thing Swapnil was trying desperately to escape, actually scored higher than his analysis of football trends.
Ugh, that is a colossal psychological blow.
It is. It confirms the doubter's worst fears. Maybe he was better suited for the old life. You dedicate all this energy to a new passion, you fail publicly, and the only proof of competence you have lies ironically in the thing you rejected.
It validates the structural bias against his transition.
And the environment was not welcoming. He mentions that senior students often question his lack of a football background.
So it's structural bias operating even within the system that's designed to help him. The institution itself was skeptical of this sudden convert.
Right. So Swapnil had to prove not only that he was competent now, but that his entire history, his lack of the right background, wasn't a liability but somehow a unique asset.
And we need to be critical here. It's easy for these heroic narratives to just gloss over this sustained period of failure. But Swapnil had to endure this reality check, the stuttering presentation, the senior student skepticism for months, maybe even years.
That mantra, different is good, is pretty useless if you don't back it up with immediate, measurable competence.
Absolutely. But the narrative beautifully pivots from these public stutters to the gradual buildup of resilience and small victories. Despite the setbacks, Swapnil grew.
And the source contrasts that disastrous presentation with the eventual success of teaching local kids football basics at the community park just 2 months later.
That contrast is the entire model for how knowledge acquisition works, isn't it? It's often nonlinear. The initial theoretical application, the presentation, was a disaster because it was abstract.
Right. But the teaching, the practical application of that theoretical learning to the local kids, it forced him to simplify and execute the concepts.
He had to make the theoretical practical. Teaching is the ultimate test of mastery.
It really is. And those small wins, seeing a kid execute a step over, he taught them, witnessing understanding click into place, that solidified the knowledge and provided the crucial validation that was missing in that sterile classroom environment.
Those small wins are the proof points that keep the dream alive. They build the confidence necessary for the next huge step,
which is going global. The journey had moved from the secret dream through public failure and finally to earned confidence based on practical application. Time for Paris.
The narrative dramatically shifts focus now, taking us from that dusty community park in a small Indian town to one of the most culturally iconic and professionally demanding cities in the world, Paris.
And Paris greeted Swapnil with rain, endless metro rides, and that immediate visceral sense of feeling out of place.
We need to emphasize the mental toll of that arrival. The source mentions the daily grind, the rain, the metro. These are the logistical barriers that test your resilience, even when the professional opportunity is massive.
But then, you get this stunning cinematic detail. The first glimpse of the Eiffel Tower came through a bus window while he was en route to his PSG internship interview.
That contrast captures the paradox of pursuing a dream of this magnitude perfectly. The source notes that the city was intimidating, yet it felt like home.
It's intimidating because of its scale, its difference, and the extreme professional demands of working for a top-tier club. But it feels like home because it's the physical manifestation of the dream conceived on that quiet, blue-lit summer night.
He was finally standing where his heart had always told him he belonged.
However, even in the heart of football excellence, the immediate hurdle wasn't a language barrier or a tactical challenge, at least not initially. It was a stereotype.
People often exclaimed, "You're from India, but you know so much about football."
The culture shock had become a professional stereotype. The assumption was that the knowledge base couldn't possibly exist in his country of origin.
And that's a moment designed to make you question your own validity all over again, despite having come halfway around the world.
And this is exactly where the resilience built in Section 2 pays off. Swapnil's tactic for overcoming this. It wasn't defensiveness or argument. It was a simple smile and, critically, an immediate, engaging conversation about PSG's pressing strategies.
And that is the key blueprint step. Competence is the only true answer to prejudice.
That is the ultimate mic drop moment, and we need to highlight it as an actionable insight for you listening. You think I don't belong? I'm not going to argue about cultural lineage. Instead, let me talk about positional rotations, defensive structures, and high-level tactics.
Expertise rendered the stereotype instantly obsolete.
And this professional competence allowed Swapnil to build a new global community. He moved from the cultural cage of his hometown to an incredibly diverse professional support structure at PSG. This team became the new family that saw past his background.
And we see the crucial role of mentorship and peer collaboration taking over from the need for a singular ally like Rahul. We meet Maria from Spain,
Who taught him the highly specialized skill of player analytics, the hard data necessary for objective selection and tactical review.
and player analytics is so crucial because it removes emotional bias, right? It allows you to say, the data shows this player excels in this specific scenario, rather than relying on historical reputation or gut feeling.
Exactly. This was essential for Swapnil, proving his worth through measurable, objective output. Then there's Ahmed from Egypt, who shared practical, on-the-ground youth football development insights.
The global equivalent of teaching those kids in the park.
Precisely. And then there's Pierre, the supervisor, who acts as the ultimate gatekeeper. He was the one who saw potential when others saw an outsider.
That discerning eye is so crucial for anyone trying to break into an established industry from a non-traditional background. Pierre provided the essential organizational validation that the raw passion could be shaped into professional competence.
And all of this knowledge acquisition, the analytics from Maria, the development insights from Ahmed, the trust from Pierre, it all culminates in the defining professional triumph, the moment of undeniable validation.
And it wasn't about filing a successful standard report. It was about spotting a pattern that defied conventional wisdom and went unnoticed by veterans.
Specifically, during a youth team analysis, Swapnil spotted a crucial pattern in defensive transitions that even senior coaches had missed. This is the technical achievement that proves true mastery.
So let's unpack that technical term for the listener. What exactly is a defensive transition?
A defensive transition is that chaotic, maybe 6-second period immediately after a team loses possession of the ball and before they can reestablish a stable defensive structure.
So it's when they're most vulnerable.
It is exactly when teams are most vulnerable, and it is the fastest, most complicated part of modern football analysis.
So spotting a crucial missed pattern in that chaos means Swapnil wasn't just learning the basics anymore. He was operating at the highest conceptual level of the sport.
He was synthesizing massive amounts of real-time data, connecting the theoretical analytics with the practical on-field chaos. This achievement makes the story so much more meaningful than just, he got a good job. He earned his seat at the tactical table through superior observation.
And the emotional reward. Pierre's approving nod. The source says it meant everything.
And that nod, it wasn't just approval of the defensive analysis. It was the retroactive validation of the entire decade of secrecy, of doubt, of struggle, of intellectual humility. It was the absolute proof that the switch was valid.
And that passion, when combined with hard-earned technical mastery, transcends background and cultural expectations.
The ultimate surreal dream is realized. The narrator reflects on the journey from watching Neymar on TV to analyzing his performance data.
It feels surreal, almost unbelievable. The boy who was sneaking a peek at a match past midnight is now intimately involved in the data of the world's most recognizable players.
And what's so fascinating about this realization is the immediate connection he makes back to the small victories. Despite the incredible reality of working at PSG, The narrative doesn't dwell on fame or wealth.
No.
It focuses on the fact that the journey, powered by his commitment, feels complete. Yet the reflection is always on those incremental wins. That focus on sustained competence, rather than one-time glory, is the key to lasting success after you achieve the initial dream.
So Swapnil is living the dream in Paris. He's been validated at the PSG training facility. But the narrative doesn't stop there. It immediately pivots to the legacy being built. The dream has expanded beyond personal success.
Yes, the achievements that resonate with him now aren't the big titles or personal promotions, but the specific, impactful achievements that demonstrate the practical, constructive application of the knowledge he gained in Paris.
This is the mark of an evolved purpose, isn't it? The individual success is being leveraged into structural change, ensuring that the next generation doesn't have to face the same initial barriers.
He didn't just escape the cage, he started designing the keys for others.
And the source details these specific, crucial contributions, designing a youth scouting system to uncover hidden talent, making sure that gifted kids who might be overlooked due to geography or lack of traditional resources are actually seen.
And organizing football clinics for underprivileged neighborhoods in Paris. That's him giving back to the local community that adopted him during his professional climb.
And most significantly, I think, is creating a bridge program for Asian football talent to be noticed in Europe.
Which is a direct response to the stereotype he faced. He's actively dismantling the barriers he once had to climb over, ensuring that the next professional from his background starts from a position of credibility, not skepticism.
So if we connect these initiatives to the core value of the narrative, it's about using personal passion to create structural change and opportunities for others, particularly those facing similar barriers of cultural expectation and lack of infrastructure.
His experience proved that the talent exists. The infrastructure simply didn't. So now he is building that infrastructure.
And this evolved vision immediately turns back home. The future plans show how the dream has evolved from personal success in Europe to establishing a crucial legacy in his original home country.
Swapnil plans to build a football academy in his hometown to nurture local passion. That's a direct antidote to the lack of infrastructure that forced him to practice in secret all those years ago.
He's not just returning, he is reforming. The plan also includes facilitating exchange programs between Indian and European clubs.
Which is specifically intended to actively break stereotypes about Indian football on the global stage. It's a systemic approach to changing perception from both ends, raising the standard of play and coaching in India, and changing the ingrained mindsets in Europe.
And blending education with sports is central to the vision. Creating youth development initiatives that successfully blend education with sports. That addresses the practical concern of Uncle Raj from all those years ago.
Yes, it ensures that pursuing a passion doesn't necessitate throwing away academic stability. It validates the idea that excellence in sport requires intellectual rigor and a future plan.
This is the mature vision of the dream. It's no longer about proving the doubters wrong, which is an external goal. It's about establishing a smooth, supportive path for the next generation, which is an internal, lasting legacy.
The struggle Swapnil endured has become the foundation for a sustainable, supportive structure. The personal journey has birthed a philanthropic legacy that will outlive his career.
And to conclude this profound narrative section, we return to a powerful, symbolic object.
The worn football.
Every morning, Swapnil glances at the worn football brought from home, sitting proudly on his office shelf in Paris.
And that ball is everything. It is a tangible link to the starting point, to the secret practice, the humility of learning from YouTube, and the night everything changed.
It ensures that even amidst the high-tech analytics and the glamour of a global club like PSG, Swapnil remains grounded in the authenticity of that original, unreasoned, heart-driven dream.
It serves as a constant internal reminder that his mastery of defensive transitions and player analytics didn't start with complex software. It started with a worn-out ball and a secret desire.
It provides that powerful, emotional, full-circle moment for us as listeners, reminding us that the passion always, always comes first.
It reminds us that the man analyzing Neymar's data is the same kid who was secretly juggling a worn-out ball behind his house.
The journey is complete, but the motivation is eternal.
Beautifully put.
What an incredible journey captured in this extensive narrative by Swapnil. We've tracked the energy, the emotion, the sheer courage it took to move from the expected certainty of a cricket scholarship to the professional uncertainty of football analysis in a foreign land. The enduring key takeaway here is the power of internal conviction over external expectations.
The heart decisively leading the mind, and then demanding competence to justify that lead.
Exactly.
And that specific story offers a universal, actionable blueprint. Everyone, regardless of their profession, faces moments of doubt, criticism, and pressure when pursuing a non-traditional or ambitious path. Swapnil's mastery of defensive transitions isn't just a football term. It's a powerful metaphor for spotting opportunities others miss, for seeing the necessary pivot point in your own life or career, which is usually hidden within chaos and momentary failure.
And whether your midnight match is starting a new company, moving continents, changing industries, or leaving a secure job, the friction is inevitable. But this story proves that the specific knowledge gained in pursuit of the passion, those pressing strategies, those defensive transitions, that mastery of player analytics, that's what ultimately allows you to transcend your background, silence the critics, and defeat the stereotype.
Competence is the ultimate passport.
It is.
We've seen the power of the midnight match moment and the support of that one positive voice, Rahul. Swapnil left us with powerful prompts to consider, and we want to leave you with one final deep, actionable thought that builds on those questions.
We saw that the heart found its heaven on earth, but then the mind had to work relentlessly to build the competence to live there permanently.
So the ultimate question this story raises for you is not just what is your dream or where does your heart find its heaven, but this.
If your heart has already found its heaven, what is the single, non-negotiable, practical action you must take this week to make that voice louder than all the collective doubt?
Find your equivalent of teaching those kids football basics. Take that tiny, practical, competence-building step towards your own blue-lit revelation.
Chase it.
Prove it.